Less than 2.5. I can find equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Two lines are parallel if their slopes are the same. If we have y equals 2x plus 7, the slope of the line parallel to this equation would be 2. Are you good with that first example? If I had an equation, I know there's a lot going on, but here's where I want you to focus. If I had an equation in standard form, and I was asked to find the parallel line, I would need to solve it for slope-intercept form first, okay? So that I could say what the parallel slope would be. So if you are given an equation in standard form, don't panic. Solve it for y so that you can see the slope-intercept form and see the slope and talk about the parallel line. Questions? We good? Next. The slope of that line would be 5/2. Same slope. How about if you have a problem like this? Write the equation of the line that is parallel to y equals 3x plus 2, but goes through a certain point. How is this going to change? What is the slope?
3.
So I know my slope is 3. I want to find this other equation, and I want it in my slope-intercept form. What's the other piece of information that I know about this other line? The point is 2, -4. So I'm going to start plugging information that I know. I know the slope is 3. What could I do with this point so that I could solve for my b value? What could I do with the equation here? So we're going to plug the point in. When I do that, the only variable left is b. Can I solve for b now? Yes. So when you see these equations and I want a parallel line, I pull out the slope from the original equation. I think about what this equation would look like, and I'm going to plug in the point, the x and y coordinate, into my equation. And now I'm going to solve for b. Any questions on those steps? Yeah, so solve for b, you should get b is -10. Is anyone still writing this before I erase and go to the next slide? You're still writing? Okay. That's the final equation. So now we've got an equation. This equation is parallel to this equation. They have the same slope. Questions about parallel lines before we jump to perpendicular? Okay, now we're going to talk about perpendicular lines. First off, before we even talk about how to find one, what do perpendicular lines look like from geometry?
Another line going through.
And they're perfectly at what degree?
90 degrees.
Oh, good. 90 degrees. If you didn't know that about perpendicular lines, I might write that down. Perpendicular lines are at a perfect 90-degree angle to each other. Okay, and now we'll talk about how we find the equation. If two lines are perpendicular, their slopes are the opposite reciprocal. When I say opposite, I mean opposite sign, positive or negative. When I say reciprocal, I mean flip it. We'll do an example here. Okay, opposite means take the other sign. If it is positive, make it negative. And if it is negative, make it positive. Reciprocal means flip it. So let's look at this one. The slope of the line perpendicular here would be -1/2. Because you can rewrite 2 as 2/1. You would flip this to be 1/2. Take the opposite sign. That's it. Flip it. Take the opposite sign. Are we good so far? Again, if you had an equation in standard form, you would want to solve it for slope-intercept form. Can anyone tell me what they think this slope is going to be? 2 over 5? And we take the opposite. Good. Questions? Now, I'm going to write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 1/8 x plus 2, and it goes through this point. So first, let's find the perpendicular slope. What's that going to be? -8. I'm going to flip it, take the opposite of it. So I get -8. I'm going to start setting up the equation. So y equals -8x plus b. How do I solve for the unknown b now? Plug in the points. So now I'm going to replace y with -5. I'm going to plug in 1 for x and solve for b. You should get that your y-intercept is 3. We'll put it all together and write the new equation. The new equation is y equals -8x plus 3. Questions on finding a perpendicular line? We talked about vertical lines yesterday, but again, a vertical line always takes the form x equals a number. To write the equation of the vertical line that goes to the point -5, 3, it would be x equals -5, and this is what it would look like on a graph. It would be a vertical line at x equals -5. So again, I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but here's a more formal definition of vertical lines. Always in the form x equals a number. Cool? If I have this point -5, 3, my horizontal line would be at y equals 3. Y equals 3. Questions about any of the lines we saw today? Your homework is 1 through 6. Now, there's a couple different pieces here. There will be some graphing, so if you need help graphing, let me know. 1 through 6 is the front and back side of this page. Lesson 2.5, parallel and perpendicular lines.